Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post, Parsha Devarim, is titled Facing Challenges. In this week's Parsha, Moshe relates the difficulties of leading Bnei Yisrael. And he says, how could I alone stand and lead the Bnei Yisrael and to be able to cope with the challenge of the Bnei Yisrael's arguments and quarrels and contentiousness? How could I do it alone? And this is why judges were appointed to reduce this load, to reduce this challenge facing Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu, when he says this, he uses the word Eicha. Eicha esa levadi. How could I do it alone? And this word Eicha we see is being used by the meaning of how, of despair, of dismay. And that Moshe could not face this challenge alone, and he needed help. And Shabbos is Tisha B'Av, so we see this Eicha, this word that Moshe Rabbeinu used, obviously relates to the Eicha of Tisha B'Av, the Eicha of the Bnei Yisrael, when they're crying out in despair and dismay. How could this happen to us? How do we face this challenge of Golus? How do we face this challenge of being without the Beis HaMikdash? How did this happen to us? So we see this word of Eicha used by Moshe Rabbeinu, and we see also with Tisha B'Av now, is this word of how, of despair. But Eicha doesn't always have to mean that. The first place that Eicha is used in the Torah is in Parshas Bereishis, where Hashem says Ayeka. After the chet of Adam HaRishon, of eating from the Eitz Hadas, he calls out to Adam and says, Ayeka, where are you? And this is used as a way of engaging Adam HaRishon in a conversation. That instead of Adam running away and hiding, Hashem wants to engage him in a conversation, to invite him to introspect, to invite him to engage in a process of teshuvah, to think about what has happened. Where are you? What are you doing? You need to take responsibility. It's a cry to take responsibility and to find direction and meaning and purpose from the challenge, from this difficult situation. So we see there's a contrast between Eicha and Ayeka, and the meaning of the word and the significance of the word of Eicha and Ayeka. And now we're coming up to Tisha B'Av. And the Gemara says in Tanis, Kishem shemishenichnas av mimat mesimcha mishenichnas adar marbim mesimcha. And this juxtaposition is giving, I believe, it's giving an insight into the reality of our life, the dialectical reality of our life. That our life is on a spectrum of happiness. That sometimes times are more difficult, mimatim mesimcha, and sometimes times are better, marbim mesimcha. That life isn't a dichotomous view of that times are always good or times are always bad. But we need to learn how to live on this spectrum, how to face the challenges when times are sometimes more difficult. And this is the key of Eicha and Ayeka. It's how we look at the situation. It's how we interpret the situation. Because in psychotherapy, there's a concept of cognitive reframing that takes a situation and it teaches a person that in order to recover or in order to get out of a difficult situation and face challenges, it's not that the situation itself has to change, but perhaps how we look at it has to change. So the cognitive reframing, just changing the way that we view it. It sounds simple, and it's just taking something and looking at it in a different way. It's the switch from Eicha to Ayeka. There's the same word, Aleph Yud Chaf Hey, and it's just changing the valorization, the word takes on a new meaning. Rather than it being a word of Eicha, of how, and despair and dismay, it's Ayeka, it's where, it's taking responsibility, it's finding purpose and direction from a challenge. And I think this can relate also to Reb Shimshon Hirsch's explanation of the pasuk Keli Keli Lama Azavtani. That when we're facing challenges, we might say, Hashem, how did this happen to us? Why have you forsaken me? Lama Azavtani. But Reb Shimshon Hirsch says that you can take the word Lama and you can change the valorization. Instead of it being Lama, why? It can be Lama. For what purpose? What is the meaning of this? What meaning can I take out of this challenge? Can I take out of this situation? And again, this is the cognitive reframing. Eicha can change to Ayeka, and Lama can change to Lama, and then it changes the situation to find meaning and direction and purpose, and take responsibility from the situation. And this is the key to facing challenges in our life. Because now we've gone through the period of the 3 weeks, and we're about to come to Tisha B'Av, we're in a state of Avelus. And the root of Avelus is Aval. Rav Shimshon Hirsch also explains that the word Aval, but, is used to oppose whatever was the previous assumption. When you say but, is that you've said something, and but is to negate or to oppose whatever you've just said. So when you say aval, when we have avelus, it's a time of darkness. It's something which takes something which was clear and definite and puts doubt over it. That's the meaning of aval. So when we're in avelus, it's when someone loses a person, loses a close person, a family member, they're in avelus, or the state that we are in now of avelus for the Beis Hamikdash, is that the world was clear and the world was definite and everything seemed okay, and then aval comes along to bring darkness and uncertainty. But this aval is to stop. It's just to stop and to take note of the situation, to introspect and to find meaning and direction. That's the avelus. It's to, instead of asking eicha, it's to say ayeka. Instead of asking lama, it's to say lama. This is the opportunity that avelus gives us, and this is the opportunity that the 3 weeks and Tisha B'Av gives us. And hopefully we will merit the rebuilding the Beis Hamikdash, and Mashiach will come soon. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.